More than 400 years after the first enslaved Africans arrived on the American shores, one of the descendants of those enslaved people bent that arc of history even further toward morality. Under a bright, cold sky, Lawrence Douglas Wilder made a transformative vow.
As Governor of Virginia.
As Governor of Virginia.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
It's a great day for Virginia.
One of the great questions of the day when Doug Wilder became the first African-American governor in our nation's history was simple yet profound. Was this event an aberration, or did the walls of injustice truly crumble? A quarter of a century later, the answer is clear. According to the late civil rights activist and publisher of the Richmond Free Press, Ray Boone, Governor Wilder's election took the ceiling off all our ambitions. Across our nation, people of all backgrounds are taking oath, working in positions of high authority and responsibility. After Doug Wilder's inauguration, this scene has become the new normal.
Part of what it represented for so many of us was the real American dream. You know, the real opportunity that any of us have as an American to now take on a position of true leadership. And if it could happen in Virginia, we thought, my goodness, it could happen just about anywhere.
There was never an election like Doug Wilder's. The international coverage, not just the national coverage, was blinding. You couldn't go anywhere without running into a camera from, Spain or Portugal or Italy or Germany or someplace around the world. So it made a big difference in terms of Virginia's image. It changed Virginia's image. And I think in that way it contributed to the demographic diversity that has transformed Virginia.
There are many reasons why. First and foremost, our culture has changed. Americans have simply become more accepting of a multicultural society, one that will be in the majority by 2042. This acceptance was accelerated by Governor Wilder's performance as an exemplary steward of Virginia's finances, a performance that defied expectations.
He has a reputation as being socially progressive, but fiscally conservative. As bad as times were financially during his term, he knew that Virginia would recover from the recession and that we would have needs that we have to address. And so he basically was the champion of a general obligation bond issue that would benefit building projects at Virginia's colleges and universities, its mental health facilities, and its park system. It was approved overwhelmingly by the people of Virginia. So that was for what was known as a pay-as-you-go state, that was pretty much a breakthrough. I think wise and prudent step at the time.
He left a great hallmark in terms of the excellence in administering government in a way that was both loyal to fiscal soundness and social justice. And I think the balance of those two things, fiscal soundness and social justice, has been a trademark of his, but it's also caught fire in the last 25 years, and we look for that, and I think that's some sort of a metric. But he did so in a way that he knew that ensuring diversity at all levels of government was important. He knew that ensuring equal justice for all citizens would make our Commonwealth a better place to live.
And when you have someone like him, who is such a brilliant strategist and such a great thinker about how to deal with tough issues, he adds so much that what you begin to see is that any human being from any background can add that much if you give them the opportunity to do that. So we are more what we are as opposed to what we look like. And that's one of the greatest things that I think, having had the election of Governor Wilder 25 years ago, has probably done for the world.
The victory in 1989 didn't come easily in a state with only 15% of its population African American, and it provides a lesson for all people of all backgrounds in how to overcome negative and false stereotypes.
Doug Wilder cares about the people of Virginia. That's why he went over 3,500 miles to every county in Virginia.
Doug Wilder practiced what is known as retail politics, covering every county and township in the Commonwealth during the election and on listening tours once he was in office.
When you're breaking down barriers the way Governor Wilder did, you have to reach out to people personally. You have to let them see that you don't wear horns, that they like you. And once you like a person, you're much less likely to vote against them and certainly to campaign against them. And so he was able to win over people in places that would have been thought to be the last sanctuary of anti-Wilder voters in Southwest Virginia, Southside Virginia, other places. In fact, he did much better as a Democrat in Southwest Virginia and Southside Virginia than the most recent Democratic candidates have done.
He had this uncanny ability to reach out and communicate with people, and at all levels, and from all ethnic backgrounds. It didn't really matter. And I don't think they saw him as the first African American governor. They saw him as Doug Wilder, governor.
He has been my mentor and friend, and he's the one responsible for mentioning my name and thought that I might be a little boy from Petersburg who could fill these shoes, certainly. But not just me from a personal side, but many people, black, white, men, women of all ethnicities, saw themselves that they could do that. And I like the way he said that from Church Hill to Capitol Hill was a short distance, but it was a mighty steep climb. But he always climbed not just for himself, but he climbed with us and for us.
A quarter century later, as Governor Wilder walks across the VCU campus, he can see a virtual tapestry of all cultures, races, and religious beliefs. The ramification of his election and his competent service in office are clear.
It just shows that anything is possible, basically, that anybody can go ahead and achieve their goals in life.
Yeah, shows a lot of growth in America.
It shows diversity and that anything is achievable.
I would ask the question, why just for folks like me? And why not, what are the opportunities for everyone?
Hello.
So, yeah.
That's the message, because what we were trying to do to show is that my election meant that anybody and everybody could be elected. She got it. You just identified a group of people that sometimes are taken for granted in terms of mixed race.
Right.
And it's not biracial, really.
Right.
It's just who you are.
Right. No, it is.
And it's not half of anything.
No,
it's just who you are.
I feel very whole. I feel lucky enough to have two cultures being blended in my household, and I think that that's made me a fully realized person, and I'm very
Well, you're mighty kind.
Well,
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
My best to you.
Because of his courage and his commitment, and ultimately because of his love of people, I think we have an example that will always be a shining example for us to try to measure up to in our nation. As he would say, we all need to take up the cudgel and cut away at the morass of indifference and intolerance. And if we do that, we can really make this the great promise and the hill that he climbed from Church Hill to Capitol Hill, every little boy and girl.
As a teacher myself, when you ask children, what would you like to be when you grow up? The first thing you hear, a policeman, a teacher, a fireman. Now they can have aspirations to go up to the governor's office, and shall I say, even the President of the United States. It has been a marvelous personal experience for them to be able to say, I know now that I can be governor because Governor Wilder was governor.
A man who embodies more positive and powerful personal energy than most, Doug Wilder does not dwell on the past. Instead, he looks towards a future where the diversity he helped to spark will play a vital role in the American political system and beyond.
And so when you go through the campuses now and see the people who have achieved and who are achieving, and you look at the leadership positions, do we have a way to go? Yes. But have we come a ways? A long, long ways. And one of the more important things is that too often we don't tell the story of America. We don't tell the story of Virginia. We don't talk about the real history to give some comparisons as to where we were and as to where we are and as to how we got here. Some people had to believe in us, and that's why we can never afford not to believe in others. But the key ingredient to any achievement in those regards is education, because that is the key that unlocks most of the barring doors. And if you can do that, you have begun the long, arduous journey of moving up that ladder of success.